Cheers. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am the immortal Kevin Donovan, and this video is about getting sober and staying that way. Yes, I am drinking, but not drinking. Sparkling ice. This is pretty much zero sugar, vitamins, antioxidants. I'm on keto diet right now, so I can't really have soda or anything, but or pop. I can't have pop. I can't have soda. I can't have soft drinks. But this stuff, it's fantastic. No sugar. It's good for you. I don't know if it's good for you, but it's delicious. This is the strawberry lemonade. Yummy. I'll set that over here. So today I wanted to make a video about sobriety. How I got there, how you can get there. I want to preface this whole thing by saying I am not a doctor. I am not a professional. I am not an expert, but I was an alcoholic. I am now still, and for the rest of my life will be an alcoholic. But will forever be a recovering alcoholic. You have to understand that I'm not a doctor. And I'll tell you my perspective and my views on all of this. And you can take that as you'd like. But don't hit me back saying, whoa, Kevin said do this and Kevin said do that. And I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm going to share my experience and my thoughts. And hopefully somebody out there can take something good out of this. That's all. How I got sober. I think everyone should find sobriety. If you think you have a problem, you do. That's the way that works. If you didn't have a problem, you wouldn't think, there's a problem here. You know what I mean? Like if everything's going perfect, you don't all of a sudden go, I should stop doing this, that, or the other. It doesn't happen. It's only when you're having issues that you're like, something's going on. Something's wrong. Then it's an issue. If it affects your life negatively, it's an issue. I'm going to speak about alcoholism because I was an alcoholic for 20 years. And I've recently been sober for almost 3 years. July 2nd, 2021, I'll have been 3 years sober. July 2nd, 2018 was the day I count my first sober day, or my sober birthday. That was the day that I entered into the drug court program. I signed the contract, and the guy running it, Jack, said, hey, you have to stay sober now. Like, there's no going back. If you mess up, we're going to tell the judge that you messed up, and you're going to have to face the judge. And the judge can do pretty much whatever a judge likes. The judge has the power to do that. He can let you go, or he can put you in jail. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to go to jail. I stayed sober, and I've been able to maintain that. I'm going to share that whole thing with you. I was arrested for a DWI. It was my second one. It was in January 2018. I have the video on my YouTube channel, so go back through and check that one out. I got entered into the drug court program as part of the agreement between the district attorney and my attorney. I said, yeah, I'll do that because I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want a felony. Entered drug court program. And drug court is probation on steroids, pretty much. Like, they check you all the time. You check in all the time. You go in front of the judge in drug court on a regular basis and literally speak to the judge. It's not a terrifying experience. Actually, the judge is a very decent human being. He was a good dude. He literally asked you normal questions like, how are you doing? How are you getting along? How are things? And you just had a conversation with him, and you did that once a week. It was actually rather pleasant. But it did remind you to stay on track. And I saw other people not stay on track through that program. And I saw them literally get cuffed and stuffed right there on the defendant's chair. We did a drug test before we went into the main room in the courthouse. There were some people that failed that. And it's, if you pee in the cup and it starts, I think it shows 2 lines if you're negative. And if no lines show up, that's a positive, or vice versa. Something like that. It's kind of like a pregnancy test. You pee on the thing and it gives you lines, or it doesn't, and it tells you yes or no. Urine sample cups that they had obviously had the tests on it, but they tested for multiple things. One of them was alcohol, and I guess there's something in your urine, and they can test for alcohol for up to 80 hours is what they say. I never tested it. I quit drinking. I didn't even want to test it. But if you had a drink or a couple drinks and like 2 days later they tested you, they would know that. Apparently technology is advancing with their testing abilities. The reason I stayed sober was I had to check in with a judge. Literally talk to a judge. And I saw other people empty their pockets out on the defendant's table, get handcuffed because they tested dirty. And they had to go up to the courtroom, and the guy that runs the program said, well, it was a bad test. And the judge was like, I'm going to remand you to the county jail. Right then and there. I don't know how they processed them, but they literally emptied your pockets, cuffed them, put them in the squad car, and off they went. Like that. Gone. I didn't want that to happen to me. I did my best to maintain my sobriety, and I did. So addiction is a very slippery slope for anyone, for any drug. Alcohol seems to be a particular tricky one because it's a legal drug that we can have. So if you have to take a drug test for a job, you can drink the morning of that drug test and it doesn't show up on that test. They don't test for alcohol. They might give you a breathalyzer, They don't test for alcohol in normal drug tests. It's the legal drug to have. It's also the drug that you can have all the time, and it only starts affecting you slowly. It's not like you see people that get hooked on real hard drugs, crack, heroin, those kind of drugs, and they go downhill real quick. Those are really hard drugs. While alcohol is a hard drug itself, the addictive nature of that beast is different. It takes years to fully erupt into the addiction, and it takes years. Like, people could fly under the radar with it for years and years and years before they hit an issue. How do you quit drinking? Well, there's a few things that can happen to you. You can have a moment of clarity in a drunken fog and in a phase, and nothing makes sense, and all of a sudden, bing, you have a thought come through the clouds, and it strikes your mind, and it makes you want to change yourself. That's called a moment of clarity. You can have a moment of clarity and an epiphany. You can hit rock bottom, and rock bottom is an interesting thing because everybody's rock bottom is different. Nobody that I know of had the same rock bottom. Some people's rock bottoms are different, and you would legitimately be surprised at how low some people's rock bottoms are. You'd think someone had sunk to the lowest possible spot in human existence, and it doesn't bother them, and they could go lower. I've seen it. It's scary to watch, and it's sad to watch a human go through that because their mind is so taken by the drug and by the addiction that they'll just keep going. Nobody else can change an addict. A judge can't do it. Jail can't do it. Threat of death won't do it. Threat of loss of loved ones. None of that works. If you give a hardcore addict an ultimatum, you'll lose. You'll lose. That's not an option. The addict, they have to see what they're doing wrong. They have to come to the conclusion on their own that they want to change or how they want to change. You cannot put that into somebody. Unfortunately, that's the way it works. I've had several people reach out to me and ask me questions. How did you get sober? How do you stay sober? What do you do? What's it like? This, that, and the other. I'm trying to address those things. I got sober because I had the threat of going to jail. For me, that was a rock bottom. For me personally, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to get arrested. I got arrested, but I didn't want to go to jail. That's scary stuff, you know. I don't want to deal with that. I'm not a small guy. I'm not scared of fighting. I'm not scared of people, but I didn't want to be locked in a cage and have my freedom taken away from me. That scares me. Plus, there's a lot of scary people in jail, and I don't want to get in fights, and I don't want to be locked up. Ain't nobody want to be locked up. That's not a thing. Nobody's like, I like jail. No, you don't. No, you don't. You might want to show off and be tough around people. Nobody wants to go to jail. Trust me. You want to go there. It's a gnarly place. I don't want to go to jail. So that was enough of a threat for me personally to say, hey, I'm just not going to drink. Plus, I had been speaking with other people in my friend group about, what was going to happen. I had to go through the drug court program. I knew I was going to go into it. I knew I had to stay sober through it. And a friend of a friend told me, yeah, I had to go through the same thing. I just quit drinking. I said, what? He goes, yeah, no, I just quit drinking. You take like 2 years off, and then you get through it, you do it, and then you move on. Well, I did that. I was like, that's really good advice, by the way. How do you not get caught? Don't do it. Quit. So I quit. And I literally had it in my mind that, well, I'm just going to quit for these 2 years or 3 years, whatever it is, and then I'll continue my life after that. I'll just take a break, a hiatus, and then I'll just go right back to what I was doing. That was the thought that started me on this path. As misguided as that thought is and was, it worked because it got me to say no to booze. So I did. So I didn't pick up a bottle. And I wasn't doing it for the reasons that were probably the right or the true reasons. I was doing it for selfish reasons. Regardless of those reasons, the end result was the correct one, which is stop drinking, heal your body, heal your mind. That's what you want to get to. How do you quit an addiction? You build a life to make it easier to not use that addiction. You literally have to reconstruct how you're living and build a life that makes it easier to not use. It's simple to say. It is not simple to do. How else do you quit drinking? Well, there's many reasons that people become addicted to substances, whether it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's even a substance. It could be sex or gambling or eating or whatever. You become addicted because you can't stop doing that thing because that thing brings you the equilibrium in your life, and it brings you this, it soothes you and calms you down and makes you feel like you're not hurting, like you're not in pain, like you're not upset, like you're not in the wrong. The problem with that is even though that temporarily does that, and it only does that while you're in the active act of using it, like when I was actively drunk, that's when I felt good. Before I drank, felt like shit. After I drank, felt like shit. It was only in that little tiny window that I could remember of drinking. I would drink through a whole window. About half of that window I'd actually remember. It wasn't even that effective, and it wasn't good outside of that window. But what you got to do is not just build a life that's makes it easier to not use. Yes, that's true. You have to make a decision that I don't want this anymore. I don't want to live like this. I don't want this stuff. This stuff is no good for me. Alcohol especially, it's been beat into our minds and programmed into us by our society that alcohol is everywhere and it's something that you should use. If you're happy and you want to celebrate, drink. If you're sad, you want comfort, drink. If you're bored, drink. These are all myths. You don't need alcohol for any of those things. You don't. You legitimately don't. I stayed sober because not only the threat of going to jail, obviously that's a big one, but I started to see a counselor, and he's a wonderful man, and I'm not going to put him out there on the video, but he's a wonderful guy that I built a rapport with. And when I first started seeing him, I didn't want to go. The court was making me go see a counselor. I didn't want to go. But I started seeing him, and people, like, we had the analogy that people are like onions. There's many, many layers to somebody, and you have to get through those layers. And once I built a rapport with him, and I felt that I could trust him, and that we could really communicate, and I could really share very, very personal things and really open up and not be judged and not be shamed, and I could let these things out, then a professional that he was could then come back and tell me, this is why these things made you feel like this. This is why this hurt you. And you can connect the dots between those things, and that's why these situations hurt you now, because those things touch back. Like if you get a bruise on your arm and somebody touches you there, it's sensitive. Same thing in your soul, same thing in your mind. If you're hurt and a situation happens that's prevalent to that in some way, it touches that. That's why a lot of times you'll see someone blow up over something that you're like, why are you so crazy over this stupid little thing, this little nonsensical issue? It's not the little issue that they're blowing up over. It's that issue directly affects them on another level, because that dot connects to a main dot. You know what I mean? So I was able to stay sober because I was able to go to a counselor, and I was able to open up, and I was able to share. And then I could actually analyze what was hurting me mentally and what was hurting me emotionally. And once you start to heal those major things and you build a life that's easier to not use, and you combine those things, shit changes. Shit changes for real. I don't know what magical form. And I hated the motherfuckers that were telling me, oh, your life's going to be better. Oh, you're going to be happier. Oh, you're going to do this. You're going to do that. Fuck you. I don't need to hear that shit. I'm just going to quit drinking. I'm going to go right back to fucking drinking. Those cliches are true. My life is a lot better. My body's happier. My mind is happier. My heart and soul are happier. I enjoy who I am. I enjoy getting up during the day and being active and being productive. I hated that before. I hated myself before. I was in such denial about my addiction. I had such ego that I couldn't overcome my own cognitive dissonance about what was going on with me. And I hated listening to all those stupid fucking sayings. I never went to AA. AA never worked for me. It wasn't my path. I didn't enjoy AA, but I definitely can't dismiss it, and I can't down it. It works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for everyone, but it works for a lot of people. And if you're having trouble, I highly recommend going. At least going to a few of them. Don't go to one and say, this sucks. That's not how you do that. You got to go to a bunch of them. You got to go many times. I was made to go multiple times by the court. They're like, you got to go to something. We count AA as something. You got to go. And I grabbed a buddy of mine who was also in a similar situation, and he and I went to a lot of meetings. So I've been part of AA, but it wasn't for me. It didn't work. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. But when I got to sit with my counselor one-on-one and really talk to a professional, a real knowledgeable person, and really share and open up, then real change started seeping in. Like I said, I quit drinking because I was forced to. And that was a rock bottom. That was enough for me to say, hey, I don't want to go to jail. I'll quit drinking. But I'm going to quit drinking. But I'm going to start drinking again when I get out of this. Being that I've lived without it for so long and had the counseling that I've had, my outlook is completely different than it was a couple of years ago, almost 3 years ago. It's completely different. You can't say never. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. I'll never do that. Life's weird, man. Life's weird. It'll throw shit at you you're not prepared for. But I have absolutely no intention of starting drinking again. And I'd be lying if I say I didn't have intrusive thoughts that would pop in there and just say, oh, you can get away with it. Oh, you can do it. Oh, grab one. Oh, grab a drink. That pops in there. It does. Still, to this day. I just shake them off now because I've done a lot of mental training because that happens to me. My brain always is firing different weird shit. And sometimes drinking is that weird shit. And it bothers me. It really does. And I'm like, why do I bother myself? Why do I drudge that up? Why do I bring that up? Why do I do that to myself? I don't know. That's why they're intrusive thoughts. I've been doing so much better in learning how to shake those thoughts, learning how to catch what I'm thinking, release the negative, keep the positive, and change it from a negative into a positive. Negative thought comes in, grab it, catch it, reshape it, make it a positive thought. So that's pretty much how I've been able to maintain my sobriety. Is I've been able to take that toy of alcohol. This is how I think about it, legitimately. I take that toy of alcohol and I put it down. I'm 42 years old. I don't need to drink all the time. Who am I going to impress? What am I going to do? It's not cute anymore. It's not fun anymore. It was just a problem. And it was sucking the life right out of me. Take my money, my time, my energy, it was draining my soul. I was tired. No matter how much I slept, I was tired. And it's because my soul was tired and wore out from being a fool and being treated like that. And I finally decided, fuck this. I've had enough of that shit. I decided to just put it down. Simple as that. Now, it's not that easy for everyone. Some people aren't in a legal situation, and some people just feel that they drink too much and they feel they have a problem and they try and put it down, and all of a sudden they're right back to it. Okay. What you got to do is first make a decision in your own mind, in your own heart. You have to make the decision, I don't want to drink anymore. This is now an issue for me. This is now a problem. Literally, step one is admitting you have a problem. That's in AA, that's in counseling, that's literally step one no matter what. Admit you have a problem. Be like, yeah, this is an issue. They say that, admitting that they have a problem, that's hard to do because you got to overcome ego, and you have no training to overcome your own ego at this point. So admitting you have a problem takes a lot of strength and courage. And just admitting that, you should pat yourself on the back right there. That takes a lot. So once you admit you have a problem and you admit to yourself that this is an issue, what's the next thing you do? Well, this is just my suggestion, I suggest you go cold turkey. Just straight up quit. Some people want to wean themselves off or just, I'll only do this much or only do it some here and some there. I don't think that works. I really don't. Some people say that they do that with smoking cigarettes as well. You set yourself a quit date and you try and wean yourself down so when you do quit, it's not as difficult. That could work. If you set yourself, hey, this July 4th is going to be the last day I drink. I'm going to, from today to that day, I'm going to have less and less progressively. And on the 4th, I'm going to have a good, 4th of July. We're going to let off some fireworks. I'm going to have one drink, and July 5th is going to be my sober birthday. And from that point forward, I'm not going to drink anymore. Hey, man, or hey, person, lady, man, girl, boy, I don't care, whoever you are. That could work. There's no reason that couldn't work. As long as you stick to that plan. And don't keep, one more day. Don't do that. You have to either quit now, or quit on that programmed, that scheduled day. That's all right. Once quitting has begun, eliminate all the alcohol out of your house. There's a saying my counselor and I say, if you have it, you'll have it. Which means if you have it in the house, you'll probably get to it. If you're on a diet and you keep a quart of ice cream in the freezer, eventually you're going to break down and be like, well, I worked real hard today. I'll have this ice cream. And you'll eat it. Same thing with booze. If you keep a bottle of vodka in the freezer or a 12-pack in the garage and you're like, I'm not drinking anymore, you'll be a couple weeks, couple months down the line and you'll have a bad day or you'll have a moment of weakness and you'll be like, oh, I've been good. A few beers won't hurt. You can't have it. Get rid of it. Move it along. That's the easiest way. If you have it, it's going to make it way more difficult for you. So make the decision to quit. Get rid of all the alcohol in the house. And the next thing I would highly recommend is to find a professional, to either join an AA, start going to meetings, which is great, or find a professional counselor, because you need to understand what drove you to drink in the first place and what drives you to drink on a regular basis. And again, addiction is different for everyone. Everybody has their own issues. I had serious issues of insecurity and self-loathing. Drinking was a side effect for me. Other things were affecting me emotionally and mentally. Depression, anxiety, feelings of selflessness, no self-worth, and truly desiring love and attention and camaraderie, and only finding that in certain avenues when it was party time. And those avenues were not good. They were not healthy. I couldn't feel good in my own skin. That was an issue. That was one of the main issues. I couldn't feel good in my own skin. I couldn't stay home. I couldn't just be quiet and peaceful. That was very rare that I could be quiet and peaceful in my own skin, in my own head, because I had a carnival of bullshit just rattling around 24/7. And I was literally uncomfortable in my own skin. So finding the counselor, opening up, sharing, and letting that stuff out would really truly help me find peace in myself. And once I started healing those issues, working on the depression, working on the anxiety, working on the selflessness, the selfishness, the less self-worth, working on my fucking issues. Once I worked those issues, and I didn't work them out completely by any means, but I definitely have a much better head start on them, and I've definitely grown and matured more than in the last 2 years than I have in the last 20 years when I was drinking. So I've come a lot further recently by going down this path and having this journey. I highly recommend you get into that, because what one needs once they decide to quit and they get rid of the booze and now you're sober, now you're like, oh, you're on a tightrope and you don't got no balance beam. You know what I mean? You got no crutches. You got nothing to aid you in this journey. It's scary at first. It really, truly is. Now, if you have a support system around you, makes it a lot better. A support system could be the AA meetings. Family is great. Loved ones are really good. And certain friends. Friends is a tricky one because I made so many friends and so many acquaintances, but they were all revolved around drinking. And even though we had a lot of similar interests in other things, I couldn't hang out with a lot of those people because the one thing that we had in common, and drinking. And I'm like, I don't want that drinking part anymore. So it was difficult to be around certain people. You have to change the people, places, and things. You can't go hang out at the bars anymore. You can't go hang out at those parties anymore. You can't go to the places that had your addiction in it. You can't. You can't go. You can't hang around those people that are in those places. If you had lifelong friends, like your friend you made since kindergarten, probably want to keep them. You know what I mean? If you've been friends with someone for longer than 7 years, they'll be your friend for your entire life. If you're only friends with someone because of you guys shared your addiction together, you might want to try and get that friend to join you in sobriety. But don't preach to people. Nobody likes that. If they ask for help, help them. If they don't ask for help, leave them be. Live and let live. But I recommend getting a support system around you. You know, once you have a support system, that holds you responsible. Now you're held responsible for your own actions. Now if you're held liable, man, if I drink, I'm going to mess up everything that I work for. And everybody's going to think this, that, or the other. Now you shouldn't be scared. It shouldn't be a threat. But you need to be held responsible and you need to be held liable for what you do. So having a support system, having a way to heal the mental and emotional issues that you have, being held accountable for what you do are all tremendous things for helping keep you sober. Another thing that I found that helps a lot is to write down everything in your head. Get yourself a notebook or a binder or a journal or whatever. Get yourself a pen, literally a pen. Don't type this out. Don't put it on a computer. Don't put it on an old school typewriter. Don't do that. Literally take a pen, put a pen to paper, and write down all the shit in your head. It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to be spelled right. It doesn't need to be neat and tidy. It doesn't have to be anything. It has to be what's in here. This has to come out some way. And talking about it's great, but there's something so therapeutic about writing it out. You don't have to show anyone. You don't have to turn it in. It ain't for anybody else. Once you write it out, I swear to God, you'll feel better. And then you can destroy it if you want. One of the neat tricks that you can do that helps you emotionally is if you have great loss in your heart. Say you lost a parent or a sibling or a friend or a lover or something. You lost someone truly, truly special to you and they're gone. Write them a letter and let go all of the thoughts and all of the feelings and be selfish with that letter. Tell them, fuck you. Fuck you for leaving me. Put it in there. Write it all down. Get it all out. You'll be surprised how therapeutic that is. Here's another one. If you're dealing with people that are still alive. I wrote one time a letter to my mother and I was going through a lot of shit. I was newly sober. I was just dealing with a lot. I was talking to my therapist and I was going, he had said, write it down, write letters, do that. And I decided one day to just sit down and I dumped everything out of my brain in a letter to my mother. And then for no particular reason, I gave it to her and she read it. And then a few days later, she was giving me a ride and we started talking about it. And turns out that a lot of the things that I was upset about in our relationship, she was upset about. A lot of the things that I was baffled by, she was baffled by. We were on the same page most of the time, but never knew it. It opened up an amazing lane of communication, and it brought us much closer together. While my mom and I still butt heads about stupid shit, we genuinely have a much better relationship now because I was able to express things that I would never have told her, but I was able to put it in a letter, and then I was able to give it to her. That healed a lot of our relationship, I feel. That opened up communication between us that, like I said, I wouldn't have done any other way. Then I feel that I can do this with my father and my sister and some of my friends and some other people. Wow, what an amazing thing. Write a letter, let out everything you got. And if you don't want to send it to him and you don't want to give it to him, put it in the fireplace. Put it in a shredder. It's all right, but it's out of your head. Once you write it down, it's out of your head. And there's something very therapeutic about that. There's something very therapeutic about giving it to someone, having them read it. And then when they respond to you, whether they respond nicely or they respond horribly, that doesn't matter because you finally released everything that you were holding on to. And you put your cards on the table and said, here, that's what it is. That's what it is. And to get a response from that, positive or negative, doesn't matter. But the fact that you let it go, that's therapeutic. That's healing. And it's not easy to do. You really have to find something deep within you to come up with that. Getting sober makes you build character. Getting sober makes you humble. It will knock you down a few pegs. You have to decimate your ego. You have to decimate your denial. You have to eliminate those things. You have to shred them. And they are so strong. So strong. Getting sober makes you stronger. Makes you stronger as a person. Makes you stronger in your soul. Makes you stronger in your mind. A lot of people think it's just willpower. You can just spit while you say that. A lot of people think it's just willpower. Yeah, it's a little bit of willpower, sure. But it's more of making a decision on a regular basis that I don't want to live like that anymore. So if you look at quitting like this giant mountain that you got to climb, like this huge feat that has to be done, you probably never do it. But if you look at it like it's just a big staircase, one step, take that step. Step one is admitting you have a problem with it. That's step one. You're already on the path. You're already there. You've made it. Just keep going. Every day is one step. All you got to say is, I'm not drinking today. Don't worry about fucking tomorrow. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. Say to yourself, I'm not drinking today. No matter what happens, today, just today, I'm not drinking. That clock has to go all the way to midnight. And once I hit 12 o'clock, I'm good. I've made it. That's a day down. I didn't drink. You have to say that to yourself every day. It's not a big deal. And once you do that, you'll realize after a while, you'll have more sober days behind you than you realize. And then every day you say that to yourself, it gets easier and easier and easier. And the next thing you know, you've been sober for a long time. Even though you had to face down some demons and you had to heal some things along the way, life's better. Life's straight up better. There is a way to go back, say you're a bad alcoholic and you've done a lot of bad things and you feel bad about a lot of stuff that you've done. There is a process called making amends, which is literally going back to people in your past and apologizing for your behavior and trying to help them recoup something. Like if you stole from them or if you destroyed their stuff or if you took money or something like that, literally go back to them, apologize, and see if you can pay them back. If you can get them another whatever you stole, give them another laptop. Or if you took money from them or you had a debt that you didn't pay it back. That's making amends. And when you do that and you can reach back into your past a little bit and make amends with people, maybe try and cross those burnt bridges and see if they can be repaired. Some of them are gone forever and you'll never get them back. You're just going to have to accept that and move forward. But some people will still be willing if a phone call, maybe to an ex or maybe a long lost relative or an old best friend that, you don't talk to anymore because a situation went down. Reach out and instead of hashing through the problem again, say, hey, I was wrong. I was in addiction. It was my fault. I did a lot of bad shit. I'm not that way anymore. I want to move forward. I want to tell you I'm sorry. And I want to be able to try and fix anything that I can that I caused wrong with you. I took your laptop back in the day and I sold it so I could go buy some shit. Let me buy you a new laptop. Let's go to Best Buy. I'll put one on layaway. Do they do layaway? I don't know. Let's go to Best Buy. I'll see if I can get you a laptop. or maybe go halves in on it or do something. Make a concerted effort to go and repair some old relationships that you ruined when you were in addiction. That's making amends. That is one way that you can find peace. Literally just going and apologizing to everybody you can think of that you hurt in your past. And some people go, oh, that's fucking everybody. It might be everybody. It just might be everybody. Doesn't mean you can't do it. You can. You can handwrite those apologies. Make a letter. Write their name down. Say, hey, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Write down an apology letter and then mail it to them or go and give it to them. That's one way to do that. Make amends. So admit you have a problem. Get rid of all your booze. Find a counselor or start going to meetings. Make amends from your past. And just say to yourself every day, just say, I'm not drinking today. Eventually you'll have more days sober than you had drunk. And you'll feel fantastic about it. Things will work out better. Your mind will be clearer. You'll be able to think, make better decisions. You'll be able to heal, and you'll be able to move forward. No matter how shitty you think your life is, when you're in the bottom of that pit of addiction and sorrow and negativity, I swear to God, you can fix it. You can. Tomorrow's a new day. You can start tonight. You can start tomorrow. Just make sure you start. That's all I got for now. You can find peace and happiness and serenity if you look for it. And you can find pain and misery if you're looking for it. I suggest you find sobriety. I suggest you stick with it. Get you a support system. Get you some counseling. Make some amends. You'll feel better. Life will get better. That mud pit you're wallowing in, you can dry that mud pit out and plant grass, and you can have a nice field. That works. That's all I got for now. That's all I'm going to do tonight. I appreciate you watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I am the Immortal Kevin Donovan. I have plenty more on this channel. I have a lot to go back through. So you go into, I'm pointing to my computer. You go into the computer and look at shit. Subscribe, share to all your friends. I thank you very much for watching. I will come back shortly with another story time and some of my own opinions about other stuff. I have a podcast coming as well. Stay tuned for that. Until then, peace.